welcome back to another episode of Close to Broke. My name is Kieran, and today we are back at the Commerce Casino. There's going to be a ton of moving back and forth, guys. I'm going to let you guys know ahead of time. If I'm not in Vegas, I'll be in LA playing, so that's kind of pretty much what I'm trying to get at. Anyways, I appreciate you guys so much for stopping by and hanging out.
No man passing by, life is good, best I've ever felt. Get me up, somewhere new, somewhere I can find myself. Oh, I feel so alive.
Sitting down in the home away from home, we're playing at the Commerce today. You guys will be seeing quite a bit over the next couple months. We're going to be playing back and forth between LA and Vegas as we have to balance the WSOP life with life here at home and work. Anyways, first hand, hijack opens at $35. We're in the big blind. We look down at 8-5 suited. One of my favorite hands to defend from the big blind. Love these random little gapper suited situations. I make the call. We're going off to a flop that comes 8-6-3 with two hearts and a spade. The action is checked over to my opponent, who c-bets for $25. I think it'd be fun to throw this as a little bit of a raise here. We can get called by a ton of hands, so any hand that contains a heart, that's a high one, a king, or an ace makes sense. They'd probably have to call, as well as all flush draws and a bunch of other random holdings my opponent can float with. I make it $60, so pretty much a min click. He makes a call. We're going off to a turn card that comes at Queen of Clubs. Again, this only improves the hand specifically like King, Queen of Hearts, Ace, Queen with maybe the Ace of Hearts. So I'm going to go ahead and bet once again for equity denial, as well as the ability to charge flush draws. I make it $65. My opponent pretty quickly makes a call. We're going off to a river that comes with 4 diamonds. Doesn't change a whole lot here. We don't improve in any way. And I'm going to go ahead and take my showdown value. I go and check it over to my opponent. He checks it back and he shows pocket 10s. Makes a lot of sense here. Unfortunately that we lost that one, but I think both parties played that fairly good. Nothing really out of the ordinary. I don't mind my raise on the flop. Like I said, I'd definitely consider calling a flop if I was raised about an ace of hearts. But either way, we're going to go ahead and live, learn, and move on to the next hand. In the following hand, early position decides to open for $50. So the old 5x, he's definitely one of the more tighter players at the table, it seems like. I look down at pocket 4s directly to his left, and I decide to make the call. He's playing, around $1,700. So this could be profitable if we set mine here. Either way, everyone decides to fold, and we're going off to a flop that comes King, King, 10, Rainbow. The opposition starts with a bet of $45. We make the call, considering we can be still ahead of a ton of holdings. We're going off to a turn card that comes the Ace of Hearts. If he checks here, I'm probably going to take over the betting lead, as I'm going to have all the Queen, Jack. I can definitely have King, Queen, King, Jack, King, 10 in my range. So if he decides to bet, I think it's a pretty easy fold for me. My opponent plays it cautiously and checks it over to me. I decide to take the bait, and I make it $165. My opponent thinks about it for a moment before deciding on a call. We're going off to a river card that comes a 10, double pairing the board here. The opposition decides to lead out for a blocker sizing of $175. This is really interesting to me. I don't know what kind of hands he'd be using to block with on this river. Maybe a hand like Ace Queen, maybe a hand like Queen Jack even. It's really hard to tell. Either way, he can be doing this with some boats. I can't discredit that. He can easily have a hand that's like Ace 10 or Queen 10, King 10. There's a bunch of random holdings that I think can consider blocker betting. Maybe the King 10 would bet a little larger considering it's like the super boat. Either way, after a brief moment, I decide to use this as a raise. Obviously, my hand's never good here. We get counterfeit on the river. I make it $600. My opponent doesn't think about it for more than 5 milliseconds before throwing in the call. I let him know that he's good, and he shows King, Queen offsuit, so definitely took us to the absolute value town. He found a way to get the maximum for me by playing it very deceptively. Hats off to my opponent. I don't hate my play. I just really liked his play. And, when that happens, just tip your cap off and say, nice hand. There's a lot going on in this following hand. So I'm going to ask you guys to hang in there with me, because there's just a lot going on. We look down at King 7 offsuit from the small blind after it folds to me. There's a straddle on. And we've got some pretty interesting players to my left. So, look, it's not a great hand, but why not crank it up here? Let's give some action, you know what I mean? I end up raising to $65. Both players make the call behind me. We're going off to a flop that comes King 9-5 with 2 hearts and a diamond. I decided to c-bet here for $85. We're going to have significantly better hands in our range here, but it's not horrible. I feel like throwing out a bet. We can still get a ton of value from gut shots, straight draws, There's a ton of them out there, as well as some random backdoor holdings and obviously the flush draw and some weak middling pairs. We do get a call from the big blind, and we're going off to a turn card that comes to 4 of hearts, bringing the 4 into a flush draw. I check it over to my opponent. He thinks about it for a moment before deciding to make the check back. We're going off to a river card that comes with 3 of spades. With the action on me, I think you can go either way as a check call here or a bet and try to target a hand specifically like Jack 9, 10, 9 suited, those kind of holdings. I feel like going with the latter is a better idea. There's a great chance that my opponent's just going to snap check back, you know, a weaker holding like I mentioned. So I decide to bet $130 looking to target some of those holdings. And out of the corner of my eye, something really interesting happens. I see my opponent make a forward motion with $130 in his hand. And I see that and I flip my hand over to show it it's good. There's a little bit of miscommunication and misunderstanding where the gentleman asked me, you know, what are you doing? Why did you do that? And then it hits me and I asked the dealer,
Oh, did you not call? Did he not call?
He doesn't do anything yet. He's counting his chips.
Oh, that's awesome.
What happened? C22.
You know, actually, you know, I was re-raise it, you know, but you know, he flopped the card, you know.
Oh, it's fine. It's great for the vlog. Great for the vlog? Hey, he's recording right now. Yeah, it's great for the vlog. So now he's vlogging you right now. What a weird spot. It's a live vlog. You do the thing, right, where
I hit.
in the casinos, the ruling generally
I was counting the chips.
only...
I thought you pulled out the 130 and you put it forward. And I was just looking at the board and I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
Dead. Even though he's doing betting, that's the rule. Yeah, cool. I think you should close the card. Because if the floor went down, you got 10 seconds, it's dead. Why are you selling? That's the rule, right? I don't know, let's let that. The floor is going to give you like 10 seconds countdown. I have no idea. That's the rule here.
You know, I was, he bet it, and I was counting the chips, and he thought, you know, I was just calling it.
So I made a bet and I was looking straight at the board to not give off any tell. And out of the, obviously the peripheral of my eye, I saw him put out 100 chip and then like enough yellow to cover it. And it was a forward motion to me. And that was the case. Again, sure, I was listening to my headphones. So.
And I was re-raise it.
You wanted to re-raise.
Yeah.
This is what it is. He's breaking chips as it is here, right?
Yeah.
A forward motion is going forward with chips. He's cutting chips across here.
Yeah,
He's
right
facing
here.
a bet. All right. Dealer's running the game. And then you just opened it. Did you hear me say call?
No, he's counting
my-
his chip and then he assumed that he
assumed.
called.
To my knowledge, sir, there was no two white chips in his hand. I just saw the one $100 chip, and that's why I exposed it. I would have obviously not exposed my hand, sir, if he had $300 chips. I understand what you're saying, and sure, I am culpable, and I'm okay with that. But I want the truth and the honesty to be there. There was not 300 in white chips. I would have clearly noticed that as a raise, or at least an attempt to do so.
200 chips here. And
You
I
had,
was counting,
again,
like,
to my
you know,
knowledge, there was this. This is what was
this.
going on. It just comes, if I saw this, why would I even think of putting my hand over, right? I get it, your rule. I'm happy to go with whatever you say. I just want the honesty and what I saw to be there. If he wants to make a rule, my hand is dead, I'm okay with it. I'll live with this. Not a big deal. It's a $130 bet. But I just want the honesty. I just want it to be 100% true what I saw.
He's facing a bet. You opened up. You exposed your hand when action's not completed. Is that
Yes, sir.
No, but isn't the rules like he has 10 seconds, then you gotta give him a countdown to close it?
Well, he's the better. He's the aggressor. He has to call. So right. So he opens the card. You get 10 seconds to act, and you already saw his hand.
No, that's why, you know, we call you.
Technically,
call
listen.
you.
All right. Technically, you had dinner. One question: you never went forward with chips causing action to be there. He just opened his hand.
No, he counting his chip and then he assumed that he called, but
He never said nothing and he went forward. Mine is pretty on this. What?
He's not an angle shooter.
I know,
He would never angle
I
shoot.
know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he
For
would
me,
never
you got to protect your action.
Yeah.
That's why he's a bidder to say, bidder, you got to bet or call before you open your hand.
All right, let's just do this.
If
Do you want to raise or do you want to call? I don't give a shit what you do. You could raise. That's fine. Let's just be men. You know my hand is fine. Just do what you're gonna do. That easy, right? Just do what you were gonna do. You know my cards. Just do whatever you want to do. Is that fair? Chop the pot, please. Can you chop the pot?
Because I want to,
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. In the genuine honesty in my heart, and I could be wrong. Okay, again, I was looking at the 3. I saw 1 and enough in yellow to cut out a call, in my humble opinion. I could be wrong.
Next time,
Of course.
any players,
Of course.
you know,
Yeah, but you folded and I chopped the pot because I think that's right. You get what I'm saying? I fucked up and I was willing to take the culpability. So I wanted to talk about exactly what just happened. That's why I ran outside quickly. All right, so bear with me. I just wish you guys could have seen it out of the corner of the lens, but you can't. It's not in wide angle mode. What I saw as I was staring at the final card on the board to not give off any tails, the opponent cut out a $100 chip and then $30 in yellow and had put him in a forward action. Then he grabbed some extra chips and said he was gonna raise. So it's just goes back to what Matt Berkey and the boys on the Only Friends podcast. If you haven't watched that, it's outstanding. Shout out to Christian Soto. If you guys didn't know, they talked about this recently where it's what do you do against a recreational player in that spot? It just all became super, super confusing. Okay, if he didn't call, but out of the corner of my eye, I did see that he called. But again, it's my job as a player to protect my hand, and I didn't. Again, this is not a super frequent thing, but it can happen. I've played poker long enough, and it even happens to me, as you guys saw. As you guys heard, there was some debate, and I eventually said, you know what, look, you know my holding is, do whatever it is that you want to do. I don't care. If you're going to raise, I might call, I might fold. I don't know, because you could be using this as an angle, you know what I mean? But then he ended up, obviously, folding, as you guys saw. What I will not refute is that, one, it's my job as a player and 100% my job to protect my holding. He didn't do anything incorrect. I did the thing that was incorrect. He did 0% wrong. I fucked up. So you gotta own up to it. I did. You could hear it when I was talking. I fucked up. I take full culpability. So that's step 1. The other big thing that is of note, our opponent has a very obvious re-roll. He knows my exact holding and he knows how to perfectly play against it. He said he was gonna raise, or that's what he was planning on doing, but again, I didn't see that, so whatever, take it as you may. Alas, he ends up folding, and what I decided to do was chop the pot. I felt like it was unfair that I did not give him the right to a true river action because I exposed my hand. I think there's a small chance that he was gonna raise, maybe whatever. It doesn't matter what the percentage is, I think. What I did do that's unfair is I didn't give him the action to call or raise or fold. Anyways, after the hand's over, he tells me that he folded the worst hand, that he did not have a good hand, and that he was trying to bluff me on the river. I don't know. I feel super out of it. I played 14 hours of poker yesterday, and now I'm back in LA after driving 4 hours to LA, and yeah. Anyways, let's get back into the session. Hopefully the table is, the straddle on, so it's livening up, and we'll see you guys in a bit.
Anyways, let's hop into the next hand and try to get this shit together. Under the straddle decides to make the call. The big blind calls. I'm in the blind raise or the straddle, whatever you want to call it. I have no action. We look down to Jack 7 offsuit. We're going off to a flop that comes King, King, Deuce with 2 diamonds and a heart. The action checks through, luckily. The turn card comes the Jack of Spades. The action checks over to the in position player, who decides to bet for $35. The action's folded over to me. Can't be folding at this juncture, so I end up making the call. We're going off to a river card that comes in Ace of Hearts. Kind of like a so-so card. It's helpful because we now improve to a better kicker, so if my opponent had King Jack, Queen Jack, we are no longer losing. I check it over to him, and surprisingly, he decides to bet $125. Now that he bets, it makes it less likely that he has a Jack here, and I guess he's trying to represent a King or an Ace, and if that's the case, I don't know. I improved on the river. I feel like there's going to be a ton of random bluffs in his holding. The flush draw misses, so I end up making the call. He pretty quickly flips over Ace 6 offsuit, so unfortunate for us, but we're going to go ahead and lose another pot. It feels like this session is full of a lot of those. Either way, let's go ahead and keep this train rolling forward. Looking to ring off a couple of hands in my direction. Let's start off with this one. The straddle or the blind raise is on. And we find ourselves in early position, and I make it $60 to go. The big blind makes a call. We're going off to a flop that comes A7-8 rainbow. The action's checked over to me. I have a good backdoor straight draw option here, as well as top pair already, so I feel like checking here is not horrible. You've got to have some strong hands in your check back range, so I go ahead and check it back. The turn card comes a 10 of spades. The action's checked over to me, and at this point, again, this is a card that should provide some equity to my opponent, whether it's a pair in a straight draw or improving to a pair himself. I end up betting for $85, and my opponent pretty quickly ends up making the fold, unfortunately. We're going to go ahead and drag a pot in my direction. The only reason I added this in the vlog is because it feels good to get a win in. And in this very next hand, we're going to keep the tape rolling. We look down at ace, king. Beautiful sight to see. The straddle or the blind raise, again, still is on. We decide to open it up to $60. The button, who from a couple of commerce episodes ago was the same guy that kept 3-betting us when we had monsters against the isolating player we were trying to isolate. He 3-bets once again to $190. The action's fold back over to me. It's a weird spot where I'm only paying like 1,600 effective, which is only like 75 big blinds or whatever in this game. So I don't know if I'm supposed to jam or 3-bet or whatever I do. I think it looks strong. So I ended up deciding to 4-bet here to $600. My opponent pretty quickly makes a fold. And just like that, things are looking up. We pick up 2 nice pots back to back. Let's see if we can't build off of this. If you guys haven't already, it would be so awesome for what you guys are seeing today and the craziness. If you guys would drop a like, again, like I said, it just goes such a long way. Just dropping a like, if you guys would be so kind to leave a little comment, all of those things go really far away. Let's get into the last hand of the session. Forgive me, there is no video for this hand as I stopped recording, as this was shortly after the ace-king hand. I stopped recording because the hand was over. Either way, yada, yada, yada. Let's get into this very last hand. The tightest player at the table is on the button, and it folds all the way to her. She decides to raise to $60 as the straddle is on. We look down at Jack-9 suited here from the small blind. It's nice to have a hand like this in the 3-bet range, so I decided 3-bet to $200. Action folds all the way to her. She makes a call, and we're going off to a flop that is unbelievable. 6-5-4 with 3 diamonds. We flop a flush, and better yet, it's against an opponent that I feel like hopefully, you know, maybe we coolered them or something. Who knows? I end up deciding to c-bet here what I would be doing with most of my range for a pretty small sizing. I make it $160 to go, and after a brief moment of thinking, my opponent jams all in for $1,405. Well, if you didn't know already, this is the chat pro hand of the day. Let me know what you guys would do. Do you guys call here? Do you fold? And whatever your answer is, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. Let me know what your answer is, as well as what do you think the opponent has. Dun, 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 dun. We are now back. Of course, for me, this is a pretty easy just call. My opponent's going to have pocket 10s with a diamond, queens with a diamond, you know, kings with a diamond maybe if she played it really slow, or aces, I guess. But I don't think I can ever make the fold. There's just a slight chance that my opponent can have like 10-8 suited and we just cooler them. Either way, I end up making the call for $1,405 total. And the turn card comes a pretty miserable king of diamonds. I shake my head in disgust, and the river card comes a 3 of spades. My opponent pretty quickly shows over the unthinkable ace, queen of diamonds. Unfortunate for us, it's a little painful, but that's just going to summarize how shitty today has been. The one thing I will want to preface this with is that we've been sun running, so it's only right that the tides turn at some point. Hopefully we're not in stormy waters for long. There's always a next session, and I'm happy and thankful that you guys are always here to join me and listen to the hands. But that'll do it for me now. Let's throw it over to me in person. Let's see how we feel after today's really crappy
A new
session.
place, a new home for a while. Let me feel alive.
Well, you guys obviously saw what just happened. I am like so disappointed. I should have known better. In that last hand, chapter hand of the day, I'm not saying I'm ever folding. Let's not pretend like I'm some kind of fucking rock star that's folding 3rd nuts or whatever, 4th nuts. Against the biggest, like super tight player at the table, I don't think I can ever fold, but anyways, I'm just a little disappointed in myself. We were into today's session for 2,600 and out for 295 or 300 bucks, so big loss there. The only thing I was disappointed in is I should have thought about it for a second. At least giving myself the opportunity to try to make the hero fold. That's all I'm trying to make a case for. Appreciate you guys as always for following the videos. I really hope you guys liked today's episode, even though it was at my own fault. Even the ridiculous hand with King 7. I do hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I hope you guys kind of got to laugh at my struggles today. I appreciate you guys always. Stay happy, healthy, and more importantly, y'all, run good at the tables. Just run better than me today. It's all good. We've been running good. It's only right that we give some back. Deuces, y'all.
I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day, cause I found my way. I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay, cause I found my way.